take just a minute to briefly introduce the gentlemen that are here tonight that I met with and we've been meeting with. First of all, let me please introduce Jim Bryja, who is the commander for Georgia and South Carolina for the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War, and historian Michael Hitt is here, Acworth historian for the Georgia Military Institute. Jim and Michael are here to make a presentation about the significance and significant Civil War activity that happened during General Sherman's occupation here in Acworth during the Civil War. Historian Michael Hitt has researched and documented the Civil War timeline of events for the Union occupation of Acworth. His research includes North-South troop battles, rail line actions, Sherman's occupation, Sherman's headquarters at the Lemon House, and Sherman's telegraphed command orders to Union troops that all happened right here in Acworth, Georgia. Michael Hitt's research is funded by and verified by the Sons of Union Veterans, which is a congressionally chartered nonprofit, and has been authenticated by the Georgia Civil War Commission that was created by the Georgia General Assembly. Gentlemen, please, you have the floor.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, gentlemen of the board. My name is Jim Bryja. I'm the department commander for Georgia and South Carolina, the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War. We're a 140-year-old organization. We have 6,300 members across the country. Part of our charter, the core of what we do, is to honor the boys in blue and their sacrifice for the Union, as well as the GAR, Red Army of the Republic, which was the original veterans organization started by the soldiers themselves in 1866. As the old fellows started to age out and pass on, their sons wanted to continue that reputation, continue that honor, and the Sons of Union Veterans was formed. Part of what we do in fulfilling our charter is to help recognize and honor and note great Civil War sites and areas of the country. But we're very particular in how we go about doing that. It has to be thorough, it has to be objective, it has to be precise. And when I was approached by a member of the Civil War community early this spring about the possibility as a 501c3 of working with the Georgia Civil War Commission and having some markers made for placement eventually at the Lemon House, I said, well, that does fit our charter, but I want to make sure that we are objective and that we have the right scholarship behind this. And Michael Hitt has worked with us many times before in the past very successfly. What surprised us as we went forward is the Lemon House is an important story, but I'm not sure people understand how important Acworth was to the Atlanta campaign itself. In fact, you could go so far as to say that at the end of May 1864, through the fall of Atlanta itself in early September, there's no city in Georgia more important to the campaign than the city of Acworth. And that's been documented here in a book with well over 200 pages of first-person accounts. We're certainly not going to bore you with all that tonight, but I'm going to ask Michael to step up for just a second and share a few of the highlights with you as to why we're so excited about this. So if you beg our patience, please.
Thank you for having me, Mayor and board members. My name is Michael Hitt. Just a little bit behind my background. I'm former military, United States Army, Field Artillery, Military Police, Signal Corps. Also served in the Georgia National Guard and also the Georgia Defense Force. In fact, I was sworn in these courtrooms here 15 years ago. I'm a retired police officer of 34 years, 2 years at Georgia Tech and 32 years at the city of Roswell. So now that I'm retired, I'm the formal historian for the Georgia Military Institute. I train future officers within the Georgia National Guard on their heritage of Georgia Military Institute. Also the volunteer historian at the Pickettsville Battlefield, and I'm on the gun crew at Kennesaw National Battlefield Park. I got asked to come into this project to help do research because detailed research really never been done before in Roswell, or not Roswell, I'm sorry, my mind, Acworth. And so I got into the project. Initially, it was focused on documenting what happened at the Lemon House, which a lot did. But you can't tell the story until you broaden the story. What's going on in Acworth? How does that house fit into the big story? Well, there's a lot that went on in this town. So part of the documentation came from the official Army reports. It's 130 volumes. Each book is a minimum 2 inches to 3 inches wide, and it's every known Army report from 1861 to 1865, both Northern and Confederate. So it's like the police reports. You want to find out what happens, you go down to the police station and pull out the officer's report that he filed when you got on the scene of whatever you're interested in. This is kind of the same thing, the after-action reports. Well, this gives you names, dates, times of whatever you're looking into. And I found so much on Acworth that I'd never seen before in print anywhere, the level of detail. Then you get into letters and diaries of the soldiers that were here once you established who these regiments were. As it turns out, I can't emphasize it more, you have a phenomenal story here. And anything that's ever brought up about Acworth, like fighting during the Civil War, well, Acworth got captured in October, by overwhelming force, like nothing happened, it was just overwhelming in numbers. No, you actually had fighting take place right in town. The intersection of Lemon and North Main Street is ground zero for fighting. And, I'm not here to get into the story. That'll be in the research we're going to present to the city. But it's just something you could really create walking tours with. I've been able to document where they buried all the U.S. soldiers in the Acworth area that died here, because the field hospital was set up in the month of June for being behind the main line, and if you survived the main battlefield, they'd send you back here before they send you on to Chattanooga to recover. And in the research, I have the modern map showing the general areas where they had buried, and we know the names of most of these soldiers. And we also at least have the body count, if they were unknown, and where they were moved to after the war. And this goes to the Confederate troops that were killed here in Acworth, where they had been buried, which is right near the funeral home at the end of the street. And that gets involved in a whole nother story. And of course, the one person that's buried literally in the front yard of the Lemon House. I think I've got the story behind his demise and how he was captured. But it has quite an intriguing story that you can use this information to be proud of what happened here, and it might give you ideas of how to honor veterans, say, like Memorial Day. You're at ground zero of housing the bodies of soldiers that gave their lives during the war, literally in town and just on your northern city limits, all over the place, on either side of the railroad tracks. So anyhow, I'll turn it back over to Jim, and we'll present you with our research.
Do we have time to go through a couple of the slides?
Sure.
Would you like to see those? Okay, I didn't know.
Sure, who's got the clicker?
It's right there.
It's right there, I think, Mike.
All right, which button do I hit? I got two things here.
Technology can be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she can just flip through some of these. Yeah, there we go.
Well, this one is a map, a Civil War map of Acworth, Georgia. You can see it towards the bottom, almost near the center there, and it names people's homes. Of course, on these maps, they didn't put everybody's home, but enough of them on there. They're plotted with the creek system. But I've been able to take, like a map like this, and you can put it with a modern map, and you can figure out what your roads today that you use are the wartime roads back then, and down to the names of these roads back then. This is a sketch that was done during the Civil War of Acworth, and you'll notice a man on the pole there putting up the telegraph line, because Sherman, when he was here, not only was he staying down at where his headquarters was at the Lemon House, he would then just simply walk up the street, or the driveway, which is now Lemon Street, and go to, not the depot, it will seem that just to the left of the depot, you see the side of the house. This is the telegraph station. And Sherman was literally not only in touch to meet commanders in the field that were, say, stationed at this point up in Rome, Georgia, Acworth, that he needed to pull them down, but he's in charge of Washington, D.C. These lines were busy because he wanted to coordinate his troop movement now that he's in Acworth with other movements going on at other places, like with Grant's Army. This was a key location. because the Army had just come from the Dallas line and all the fighting. Sherman was able to pull back to the railroad. He's reorganized his army. He's got to get this railroad back in running condition again. He's got to resupply his men. He's got to get more troops here. I mean, there's stuff going all over the place, but this is the hub of it. Now, this is a wartime sketch. The original is at the Atlanta History Center. That's the Lemon House. You'll see the horseman here at the bottom of the photograph, and it's written on the photograph. It's just hard to read on the screen here, but it says Sherman at his headquarters. And it says Lemon House, and then there's soldiers behind them, or just in front of the horse. You'll see some of the soldiers with their weapons over their shoulders, and they're marching onto the property, because that would be the 7th Ohio, or Illinois, and they would become the headquarters guard, because they're getting ready to go home. They're listening stuff. So while they're here, you're going to guard this area, and as soon as Sherman leaves, we're going to start sending you north to muster out.
Michael, is that Willis Street essentially right there?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, where Sherman is in the
Willis
picture
Street is
here,
today.
that's Willis Street. And if they continue down the road, they would come to the road that's to the side of City Hall here. There's a picture of Sherman's staff in Atlanta after Atlanta Falls. You'll see an officer on the extreme left there with his hand up on his knee. That's Captain Ellen Dayton. He carved his name, rank, and date underneath the staircase of the Lemon House, because he was using the closet underneath the main staircase as his bedroom. That way he's a good staff officer. The staircase that comes down to the floor is right over his head, right all the way deep into it, so he can hear anybody coming and going or at the front door, and anybody that were to come in wouldn't see him because he's in the closet. But he would be Sherman's right-hand man from 1862 to 1865. After the war, he would become part of the U.S. 7th Cavalry. When Grant becomes president, Sherman's now in charge of all Union troops. Now he's out west, involved in the removal of the Native Americans out there. Dayton is back on his staff again. Evidently, he was a good staff officer. Sherman wouldn't tolerate him. And that other gentleman next to him, just out of notoriety, he's got the beard there with the light-colored cap. He was on Sherman's staff as the chief medical officer, and as a youth, he was in the Royal Navy. So you see a guy running around down there with a British accent. So that's the inside the Lemon House, the door I was talking about. So you open the door. At the very end, it's got stairs going down, but at the time of the war, that was just a floor. That was added after the war. But the very end back there is where he carved his name. So all he did is turn on his shoulder and just kind of carved into the wall. Soldiers do that. And this is another carving on the side of the Lemon House. RT with the 14th Illinois. I was able to find out who he was. He's buried now out in California, but he was a personal friend of Abraham Lincoln during the time of the Douglas-Lincoln debates. He was a sergeant, and so while he was there, just turned around and kind of carved that on this post on the wall.
Rufus Tucker.
Yeah, Rufus Tucker. This is a gentleman here that actually saved the Lemon House and other homes in Acworth from burning. From his own writing, he wrote on the very night his unit arrived here to destroy the tracks on the 13th of November, 1864. Sherman was getting ready to go on the Atlanta campaign. As the troops were being brought into Atlanta to begin that new campaign, they were ordered to destroy the railroad tracks. Well, his unit was in charge of destroying the tracks here. He wrote a letter home that night from Acworth that he was the only officer, he was a staff officer here, that was trying to put the fires out. And he'd see a new fire, he'd run over there and order the men to get out of there and put the fire out. In the Lemon papers, Miss Lemon that was there in her paperwork stated that a Yankee officer, she didn't have his name, but came over to save her house because several federal soldiers were already there throwing torches in. She had a broom, and she got really mad and started wailing at one of the federal soldiers because of it. He saw it, and because they were starting to arrest her, and ordered her unarrested and ordered the soldiers to put the fire out and then get out of there. And then he eventually quit because he couldn't keep up with all the fires and put them out. He did the best he could, but we were able to find from his own writing that very day it happened that he states he was the only officer doing that. So anyhow, this is a map I've been able to put together, the fighting that took place on October 4th in Acworth, and they did capture the guard, but it was quite a story of what actually happened here. You're looking, right in the center would be the intersection of Lemon Street with North Main Street, and from that point going up the map, that's going east or like towards Atlanta, that's the battlefield. All right, that's it for a quick thing, so appreciate it. Jim, you want to go on?
Yeah. It's been an honor for us to do this in a labor of love too. I'm a citizen of Acworth, so for me, I've learned so much about what's happened in our town. As a token of that effort, we'd like to present the Save Acworth Foundation for posterity, all the research that Michael's done.
Jim, if you don't mind, come up here, and Betsy, why don't you come up, please?
Thank you, Betsy. Happy to do this.
Thank you. I am so very honored to accept this on behalf of the board of the Save Acworth History Foundation. And I'm so happy that you all got to meet Michael Hitt, who is so interesting to listen to. Certainly saying thank you does not express the depth of our gratitude. And also that we acknowledge and are so proud of the scholarly research and will value this in our office. And you know, we just can't wait to start reading this. And again, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Can we get a picture of
Get all of them for this up here. We're getting the rest of the board members who are present for a picture.
Good.
Thank you.
Good job.
It's just a treasure.
Thank you, sir.
Pretty interesting, isn't it? You ought to see it.
Tim and Michael, thanks again, and Betsy, you've got a real resource there, so
We're so proud.
we're excited for you to have it.